there and welcome. I'm Cindy Daychuk with Queen Bee Creations and thank you for spending some time with our channel. If you have already subscribed, thank you. If you have not, please do. We come at you every week with at least one project, if not a couple. So keep us coming into your feed. We'd love you for it. And thumbs up, shares, they all help us too. Now, today we are starting a new project and it's going to be kind of a cool one. I have this really old antique mirror. Now you can see it is hurting. It's got some molding that is broken. It's got molds that are missing. And so before we start our project, we're going to fix some of that. Now, I'm not concerned about getting it perfect because we're going to paint this out. We are going to do a little distressing. We are going to add a little bit of the gold tone back in, but I don't need to fix it perfect to kind of hide a little bit of this. So I don't want the gaps because those will be pretty noticeable, but it doesn't have to be perfect because that won't be noticeable after we paint it, if all of that makes sense. So to do that, I have some Titebond glue. So I'm just going to kind of take off the crusty piece. And I just want to start by attaching the broken piece because I might as well use what I have. And apparently I have two broken pieces. So I'll get both of those glued down. And I'm using Titebond 3, which is a wood glue, dries super fast, super hard. Titebond 2 is also any of the Titebond glues. I think there's a difference between 1, 2, and 3 in terms of what it sticks and what it doesn't. And for my purposes, I've never had a problem with using any of them. So what I am going to use to fix this, because I need raised detail, is I'm going to be using some of the air dried clay from IOD. Available on the website, queenbeecreationshome.com. And I'm going to just kind of fill in some of the gaps with a little bit of the wood glue, just to make sure that it sticks in there. And I'm just going to kind of squeeze it. This is my biggest gap. And in some respects, it's the easiest one to fix. But I'm going to squeeze that in and kind of smooth it out around the sides. And then just kind of mold it and shape it roughly into place here. So again, it's not going to need to be perfect for our purposes because the eye will end up just traveling right past that. Now there's a little bit of a design here. Sorry, you guys. So you can see where I've squished that in. There's a little bit of a design here, and I'm not going to necessarily worry about making this exact, but I am going to take my X-Acto knife and just create some of the ridges and texture. This sort of roughly mimics the rest of it. So again, once it's painted out, it looks much more uniform. Okay? You can see how that kind of looks. And all I'm going to do with these little spaces is roughly the same thing. I'm going to kind of, let me squeeze a little bit of that glue out, grab a little knife and kind of dab it into the spots. And these are just little raised, almost like little raised pyramids. So I'm just going to squish a little bit of that clay down in there, and I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife to kind of roughly give it a similar shape. Now once I have all of these little pieces sort of plastered in there, I am going to let this dry fully overnight and then come back at you to begin painting it out. The next pieces of beyond that, the decorative, really decorative part that I'm going to surprise you with, I'm still waiting for the shipment. So we're just getting this ready, and then we're kind of on pause. It won't feel like a pause to you because you're watching this all at once, but I'll be in pause and holding mode until my shipment arrives. But this is all I'm doing. I'm going around all the edges here. I'm going to add my clay into all of those little holes and spaces and leave it to dry overnight. And then I'll come back at you and we'll do some painting. In order to get this painted, it's going to be easiest for me to take the mirror out. And I need to take it out anyway for one of our other steps. So this, you can see, is like such a super old mirror that it's got some nails. I brought a set of pliers. I don't even need them to be able to get these nails out so far. Maybe these little ones down here. But I'm just going to be, can I slide that out? No. So I just need to be able to get these nails out. There goes another one. And take off this backer plate. We'll save it because I'll need that after potentially. And this last nail. There we go. All right, so you're gonna take the mirror out, set it off to the side for the next step, and turn it on over. My clay is not fully dry, but it is mostly dry, so it's okay to be able to put on my first coat of paint. And for this, I'm going to use a white, so I'm using Beadboard by DIY. Nice clay-based paint, also available on the website. And I'm just going to give this a good coating everywhere. And I want to work it down into all of the little grooves, all of the little details of the piece. And just kind of get it nicely painted out. No magic to this. This is all that's involved in this step. I may be able to get away with one coat, or possibly I need a second coat. So 1 or 2 coats of the white to be able to cover your frame, or in the color of your choice, depending upon your plans and your decor. You'll have more of an idea as we go along. But I am going to do a little distressing back to show some of that gold, and I may take some gold to also do some highlights if need be. But okay, and get a little bit of glue to put back some of the pieces that of the old pieces that are falling off. This isn't one that I had added. This was one of the original pieces that's just deciding to fall off on its own. This is very old, very fragile, this frame. But I love taking these old pieces and repurposing them rather than having them, you know, end up in a landfill somewhere. And just the details are so much better than you get in some of the newer pieces. And again, they've got that character. I like the fact that this has some cracks in it and it's got some of that detail, and we'll try and highlight that and bring that back a little bit. It's got a little bit of that, you know, that romantic feel to it. It's kind of nice. So for this step, just painting it once, letting it dry, see if it needs that second coat, and then do your second coat. And then I'll come back at you for the next stage. Now, for the mirror, we are not going to be using it as a mirror. I am going to be taking some plain drop cloth, and I am going to just lay out my mirror on it. Get enough of a border around my mirror and just cut my fabric around this. So what I do want to do is I want to ultimately cover the mirror over entirely with the drop cloth fabric. I want to have that, which is a good side. Let's do that side. And I'm just going to use a bit of hot glue to affix this down. So my first edge, laying this down, be careful not to burn your fingers as the glue, depending upon the thickness of your fabric, may seep through that. And then we're going to pull this down. So I am going to cut off my corners here, just so I don't have a mountain of fabric there. And it's okay because square mirror around, you're not going to see the edges of this anyway, but I just want it to maybe sit down nicer into my frame. Let's get that glue coming down here. So I've got that corner fixed, and before I do anything else, I want to get this side done. So I'm going to start by pulling it very taut in the middle and getting that middle section stuck down with my glue. And that will allow me to be able to work out toward the corners. And again, making sure that I pull that nice and taut. That's my backing. So that's going to get inserted back into the mirror once the frame is finished. So I'm still waiting for the first coat to dry. Got another coat to go, and then we'll come back to do some of the refinishing, but I got the mirror done in the meantime. So just a nice, smooth, taut surface that we're going to be able to insert into our mirror. And I'm really going to like the contrast of the white with some of the gold, and then the natural kind of creamy color of the drop cloth fabric. So you could go virtually anything for this backing, depending upon what you're going to put in. So you could do, you know, a white contrasted with maybe a black velvet background. You'll see where we're going, but you can go multiple directions depending upon your decor and what it is that you're looking at doing. For me, this will work well. But you can look at whatever kind of contrast makes sense for you and your piece and your decor, and perhaps what your theme or your plan is for the holiday season. So I'm gonna get my second coat onto my frame momentarily, and then we'll let it dry, and I'll see you after that. Now that our frame has 2 coats of white on it, it's time to do a little distressing. For this, I'm just taking a baby wipe, and I am going around some of the details to bring them out, create a little bit of that shabby look. And it just serves to highlight some of the details. And you could use a fine sanding paper. You could take just any kind of wet cloth and be able to use that instead. Just in the shop with so many moving parts, this just tends to be a little easier for me. And the way my life is right now, I am all about the easy. So I'm just creating a little bit of detail here and taking advantage of all the little raised areas that are here naturally. And we're getting some of the gold showing through, and you really, now that it's painted, can't tell without really looking hard for any of those fixes that we did with the air dried clay from IOD. So that worked awesome. But you can see there the details that are coming out. And that's what we're looking for. So all I'm going to do is finish distressing this, let it dry, and then I'm gonna seal it with just some clear DIY wax. So I'm gonna cover it in the wax, wipe off any of the excess, leave it to dry overnight, and then buff it. And then our frame is finished. And I just got the shipment in that I need to work on the next part, our insert. So we've got it all fabric covered here, ready and waiting. And now we've got the next piece to be able to carry on. So we are in great shape to be able to wrap up this project now, and I'm so excited to give it a go. So I'm gonna finish this off camera, get it done and ready and waiting for our insert, and then I'm gonna come back at you with the next step, which is gonna be so pretty. I'll be back. The last step in our project is to take our bling. Now this is a new find from a company called Totally Dazzled. I'll put the link in. It may be an affiliate link, it may not. I don't know. Same price to you either way, but it is all kinds of rhinestone and pearl studded bling in all kinds of different sizes. So you get you can buy a bag of like 10 or 20 or 50 or whatever you want to do. I bought groupings of 10 just to be able to see and check it out because I had this project in mind. What I wanted to do was a Christmas tree within this frame. So I just was laying it out to make sure before I glued anything that it actually fit my frame, and my frame didn't go over top of it. And I had my frame upside down anyway. But what I thought was laying these pieces out in kind of a rough Christmas tree format. I've seen this done with old watch faces, which is super cute, but I don't have any, right? So look at that. I mean, if you can't go kind of blinky and rhinestoney and at Christmas time, when can you do that? So I figured when I saw the Totally Dazzled stuff, and it's a really reasonable price for this, I thought, okay, I'm gonna have uses for this with a lot of crafts, and I'm gonna give it a try. Some of them come as little brooches, which I don't need. And so I am going to just take my cutters, my wire cutters, and I am going to remove that. So any of them that are brooches already, I'm gonna take that hardware off the back, and it removes really quite easily. So let's face it, I mean, these are not super expensive jewelry items. Like, this is not antique by any stretch, but it is awesome as little embellishments and to guilt-free use in here because I'm just able to, yeah, I don't have to worry about it being, you know, anybody's grandma. But that said, if you had, let's say, a lot of costume jewelry from your grandma that you would never wear, doing something like this where you can have it hanging up and it becomes a decor item is actually a pretty cool idea. So as much as I don't have that, so that's not what I'm doing, doesn't mean that that wouldn't be a perfect idea and something to use with that. Now I just kind of may or may not have broken that one a little bit, but nobody will ever be able to tell, so it's okay. So I'm using this long one that's got kind of like a leaf as the stem coming down. I'll have the little tail of the leaf hanging down. But I just thought if I sort of roughly put them together in that tree shape, I think they'll be kind of cute. So think about doing something like this. I've also seen it done with buttons, right? So if you have, you know, some people have button collections, super cute old antique buttons. You could do it with the watch faces, like I said. You could do it with, you know, even antique jewelry that you've got that you want to save, you want to have as part of your decor, but isn't something that you would wear. This is kind of a nice way of doing this. So all that I'm doing is I am putting some hot glue onto the backs and sticking it down to the fabric. Now, these all have different raised surfaces, so I'm kind of trying to put it on the pieces on the back that constitute the high areas. So that they'll stick down to my fabric there. And I may have to turn my overhead fan off because I think it's blowing my glue and making it dry a little fast. Let's see. Seem to be on there. So look, gives the idea of that Christmas tree. Let's look at popping it into our frame. I still have to go grab the backer, but this will give you an idea. What do you think? Pretty cute, right? So again, for this project, just think in terms of an interesting frame. I really like the oval with the kind of the tree shape, but think about what you're going to be gluing in. I mean, the same concept you could do with little driftwood sticks in decreasing size, right? But just, you know, going for a little bit of bling, but watch faces, buttons, sticks. I mean, you could do almost anything. You could even do little glass Christmas baubles if you wanted, but super cute. I'll get this staged up for you, but give this a try. I think that it's a great use for an old picture frame that you can turn into great Christmas decor. For this framed Christmas tree, I'm just going to use a small little frame. So again, nothing special about the frame. This is one that I just picked up from the thrift store. So You don't have to get something particularly special or different. I mean, I like having something that looks a little bit more ornate, but it could be perfectly simple, just square as well. So I just know I want to have a slightly wider frame for this project because I'm going to do a little bit of embellishing on it because the craft itself is fairly simple and I'm just going to want to dress it up a little bit. Now, here's the thing about Christmas decor. A lot of times we think of it always being like big ornate trees and baubles and that sort of thing. And sometimes you just want to add a little bit of Christmas to a small little corner or up onto you know, little blank spot on your wall or maybe on a bookshelf. And that's where something this size kicks in because it's just going to be a little something simple. And you'll get what I mean as we go, but we're not looking at doing something that's a huge ornate craft. Ooh, forgot I had the glue gun going. It's hot. So, and it starts very simply. It starts with just simply painting out this frame. And I'm gonna paint it, I'm using DIY paint in beadboard, which is kind of my go-to white. But choose whatever white paint of your choice that you would like. And I'm gonna have to do probably 2 coats of this. So I want this first coat on because it's gonna allow my next coat to kind of stick and give me coverage. But this one's gonna look a little bit streaky because I've got a lot of smooth surfaces here. While my frame is drying, I can get started on the next part of this craft. And that is to take my piece of glass and I'm going to cover it. Now, I am going to just be using a piece of sheet. So this is a sheet that I got from my thrift store and I just keep cutting hunks off of it. So I have used a hunk of it that I stain in coffee. I've ripped strips of it that I've used as strings and tassels on wreaths. I have done fabric flowers from it. These are great purchases. So usually I'm at the thrift store and I usually go on Senior's Day, so I get 30% off. This was, I think, $4 for the whole sheet and it's 100% cotton. So that was $4 and then 30% off. So you can't really beat it as a source of craft fabric, right? And then I don't agonize over if I mess something up with it. I'm not messing up nice fabric. So when I'm just looking for something that's nice and plain, I'll use drop cloth fabric or I'll just use some of this fabric. Perfectly, you know, just nice and easy. Now, because I am going to be using this, now what I do like to do is I like to, along the bottom, just kind of cut off that seam on either end, and I'll use them as ties on other things. So I just kind of get them started, rip them along. I'll get to that after. And then this, I am just going to cut slightly bigger. Now, because I use this fabric all the time, I'm just going to rip the whole length. You could just cut the piece out, but I know I'll be using this width for, you know, something, part of a wreath somewhere sometimes. So might as well just bite the bullet, cut it off. Okay, so this is going to be the background in my frame. And what is going to show is this side. I'm going to attach my design to. Now what I did do was I pre-cut an image of a Christmas tree, and you could just go into Google Images to Christmas tree clip art, download the rough image and resize it on your computer and just get a little printout. And I just want one, and I checked this with my frame to make sure as my frame is in that it's gonna fit, right? So the frame's not gonna cut it off or overhang it. And what I'm looking at doing is I have this burlap fabric, so it's actually burlap wired ribbon that has little snowflakes on it. So I am looking at laying this out in a way that allows me to capture the most of those. And then cut this off, and I'm going to cut this out. So you could for this use, let's say, you were doing like a silver, cut out silver foil. You could like silver foil ribbon, or you were doing blue, like blue silk ribbon, or fabric, or buffalo check, or I mean, whatever goes with your decor. So I'm doing a little bit more natural toned this year, but I have a cool idea on how to be able to use this. So you could be doing this in fabric instead of a ribbon, and you could be doing it in any color or design or pattern that works with your seasonal decor. And there we go. Okay, so once you have your silhouettes cut out, and what I wasn't sure about was how much this was going to fray and whether I would need to glue the edges. I think it will be okay because it's not going to be held if I was moving this around. But if you do something in burlap and like this, and yours is fraying a lot, just take like a clear craft glue, and on the back, just go around the edges with the glue and then let that dry and then carry on. All right, so if you use a ribbon that seems to be fraying a little bit, or a burlap, do the clear around the edging of it, let that dry, and then you could trim it up. All right, and it won't go past where the glue is. So you can do that. Now, what we want to do is to attach this in the middle of our background, and then our frame is going to go around that when we're finished our frame. So here's again where you have some options. You could just glue this in place, okay? But then if you want to switch it out, let's say you changed your decor color or the season changes, now you have to remove all of that fabric that we just glued down. Remember I said you could just tape it, so you could untape the fabric and then tape in new fabric if you want. Or instead, I want the same neutral background. I just want my design to be interchangeable. So what I have are these. I have little Velcro pieces. So what I'm thinking is I can just simply Velcro some dots on here, and then I will Velcro them in place on my fabric. And when the season changes, so let's say now it is Valentine's Day, or it is Easter, or it is whatever it happens to be, somebody's birthday, I can just remove this design and Velcro in a new design. The only difference is that it has to cover my Velcro. So it's going to be a little bit raised in there. But now, I don't even have to take it out of the frame because this is the glass. So this is gonna be my frame. I just peel this off in future and I stick a new design in. So I can have a big narrow heart that goes in there for Valentine's. I could do like a big candle. I could do an angel next year. I could do another tree in a different color next year. Whatever makes sense for me. Big bunny for Easter or big egg, you know, so I can have this as a decor piece that isn't stuck into just one season or one look. I can just change it out by popping this one out, Velcroing in a new design. Kind of cool. I like that idea. So this we're just going to put off to the side because I'm not done my frame yet. So I'm going to come back at you once it's painted for us to be able to finish that off and for us to be able to put things together. I have my frame all finished in terms of painting, but now I want to do a little bit of distressing. If you remember, it had that gold underneath, and I just really want to bring a bit of that back before I seal the frame up. So I'm just going to take my baby wipe and I am just going to rub it against some of the edges. Because I use the DIY clay-based paint, it's kind of similar to a chalk paint. It reactivates the paint, moisture in the cloth, and allows me to do wet distressing super easy. You could do dry distressing, which means you're taking some sandpaper to it, and that would also work. But you can see how that brought out just a bit of those details, kind of adds a little bit more interest to the piece than just maybe a plain white frame might. And that's a little bit of the advantage of using a slightly more detailed frame. But quite honestly, just a simple plain white frame would also look amazing. So I'm gonna let this dry and wax it up, and we'll be back for the final step. What I have done is I have popped our tree into the frame. Now, if you like this, you can be done. This is perfectly cute and usable as it is. I wanted to just kind of show you how you could zhuzh it up a little bit if you were inclined to. So because I've used the natural fibers here, and again, if you're looking at popping this in and out, you could skip this step. Or again, because I'm going to be using glue, any of these embellishments that I add are going to be able to pop right off and I could replace them. So as long as I was going to be adding embellishments from season to season to match my internal decor each time, then it's not going to hurt anything. Otherwise, leave it plain. So I have taken a piece of jute and I have just tied a knot in halfway and I have unraveled it. So you get these cute little wavy things, almost as though if you've got long hair and you take your braids out, you get all that kinky hair, right? Not that I've ever had long hair, but I've seen it with other people. And I'm just going to start off, sorry, just caught on the table leg. I'm just going to start off by just kind of roughly gluing that in place. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to take some of my solo wood flowers, and I have some that have some of the natural tones that kind of fit with my burlap image, and I am going to embellish the corner with some of those. And again, just kind of adding a little bit of those neutral and natural tones to this. You can take your solo wood flowers and you can, in fact, dye them any color. So if you were using blues or pinks, some already come dyed, or you can just dye them whatever color makes sense to you. So you have a lot of flexibility with these. And I just love them because they've got such a kind of a cool, natural look to them. And so I'm just going to take 3, the magic decorator's triumvirate here. and just kind of stick them together. Just holding it till it's dry a little bit. And I'm just looking at this thinking, okay, I just want to cut these a little bit. So again, a little bit of a haircut. I don't mind having some different lengths here, but I didn't need it to be super long. And there. So we have it a little bit zhuzhed up. Again, could have left it plain. Do the decorative piece. If you're switching this out like at Easter and popping in a different image, if these colors don't work for you, then this will be easy to just slip a little screwdriver underneath and pop them off and replace them with maybe a silk flower or some daffodils or whatever is in season. Two different ways for you that we did today in using a frame as some of your holiday decor. Let me know what you think. Certainly let me know if you give them a try. I would love to see any of your projects, certainly hear from you, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.